Hey everyone, welcome back to Clinical Physio with me, Khalid Maidan. In today's video, we're going to be taking you through palpation of the wrist and the hand. So when we're palpating, we need to be thinking about key things such as swelling, tone, laxity and deformity, but perhaps most importantly is pain, as this may well tell us the most about our patient's condition. So as to not slow your video down, we're going to be only looking at one wrist and hand during this video. But of course in clinical practice we always want you to compare both sides so that you can clarify your clinical diagnosis. Right, so let's get into our main video. Let's get clinical. So before we go into our palpation of the wrist and hand, we just wanted to mention that we're going to be looking at a broad overall palpation of key structures, looking for key pathologies in our palpation. It is possible to perform very specialist palpation, for example, palpating individual carpal bones. At this stage of your learning, we'd suggest you develop your global palpation skills would be a good way to start. Of course, if you do want to specialise in this further, you may want to speak to someone like a hand therapist who can give you more information on very detailed palpation. So let's consider the palpation of the anterior aspect of the hand. And just for the purpose of this video, we're going to be concentrating on our patient's right hand because it's easier to see. Of course, in practice, you'd want to compare it to the left as well. And the first thing we're going to palpate is the thenar and hypothenar eminence of the hand, where local intrinsic muscles are located. And we're going to be palpating this area for two key reasons. One, for possible wasting, and two, for possible swelling. Let's talk about the wasting first. So if your patient comes in and says they feel really weak in their hand, or they feel they've lost dexterity or function in their hand, and this is coupled with significant atrophy of the thenar or hypothenar eminence on your palpation, this may be an indication of a nerve palsy. If you do find this presentation, it's very important to speak to someone very quickly about possibly referring your patient to see an extended scope practitioner or even perhaps a neurologist to perform some nerve conduction studies to see if it is a nerve palsy that is causing this wasting. As we just said, again, it's very important that you do this quickly. Next, we're going to palpate the proximal thenar eminence, which is where the first carpometacarpal joint is located. And the reason we're palpating this area is that it's a very common area for developing osteoarthritis. We can also palpate globally around the carpal bones, and we can do this by providing an AP palpation into each area. And the reason we're doing this is so we're looking to see if we may reproduce our patient's pain, which may implicate the carpal bones as a source of our patient's pain. If you do feel that one particular carpal bone is significantly at fault, or if you want to feel for more detailed possibilities of perhaps carpal instability or carpal subluxation, for example, let's say your patient presents with a significant clunking when they make a fist, we would recommend that you liaise with someone such as a hand therapist who would be able to go through more detailed palpation for your learning. But as we said, just for starting out, an AP glide across the first and second rows of the carpal bones is a very good place to start. So now we're going to consider palpation of the wrist and hand in a posterior view before flipping over to a radial and ulnar view. First, the posterior view. And the first thing to mention is that your palpation may well follow the subjective history of your patient. So for example, if your patient reports pain in the ulnar carpal region and you feel that this might be where the source of their pain is, you definitely want to be palpating this aspect of the wrist and hand. Things to look for. First of all, trauma, a fracture, for example, might be something you feel for if your patient says they fell over in the car park just before they came in to see you, for example. They haven't had the opportunity to have an x-ray, and you may feel gently for signs of significant swelling or bony deformity, which may indicate a fracture. We're also going to consider the fingers, and in particular, swelling and bony deformity around the fingers. So we're going to be palpating the MCPs and the PIPs, the proximal interphalangeal joint, and the DIPs, the distal interphalangeal joints. So what reasons might we have swelling or bony deformity in these areas? One example might be a local osteoarthritis. So you might well palpate specific joints where your patient presents with pain, particularly if they're an elderly patient, for example. This might be your consideration. If your patient has global, more general swelling around the different finger joints we've mentioned, it's possible that they may be affected by an inflammatory arthritis, perhaps a rheumatoid arthritis or a psoriatic arthritis, for example. Other reasons for swelling might be local ligamentous irritation. An example of that might be if your patient has quite a hypermobile hand, and this means that the ligaments around the different areas are really trying to grip on to provide as much stability as they can in this hypermobile hand. You might see local swelling around one or two joints, which might be where those ligaments are so irritated. Next, we're going to flip over to the radial side. And I suppose one of the most key pathologies we would be thinking about here is a possible de Quervain's syndrome, which is a tenosynovitis of the abductor pollicis longus and or the extensor pollicis brevis. So we're going to be palpating around this area, which is called the anatomical snuff box. Now, if you want to clarify where this area is, just ask their patient to bring their thumb into more extension. And if you resist that movement, you might well see a little dip or little depression. This is where the anatomical snuff box is situated. Then we can ask our patient to relax and we can palpate in that area. If it's potentially with a de Quervain's, it might be swollen. It may not always be swollen, however, so you can always consider that. As we mentioned earlier, if we're concerned about a possibility of a fracture, we might particularly palpate around the distal radius for signs of swelling or bony deformity. And if we then come on to the ulnar aspect of the wrist and hand, we might also consider if our patient has had a fracture there, if they've had a fall and has created a trauma, so we might well feel around this area gently for signs of potential swelling or bony deformity, which may indicate a fracture. So now we're going to consider palpation of the wrist and hand in a radial view before we swap over to an ulnar view. So first, in the radial view, the first thing I want to do is show you how to find the anatomical snuff box. So we do this by asking our patient to extend their thumb against our isometric resistance, and hopefully you can see on the camera a little dip or depression, and that area is surrounded by a couple of tendons, and that is called the anatomical snuff box. Thank you, can relax. And what we want to do is palpate into the middle of there. And the reason we might do this is if our patient, for example, has fallen onto an outstretched hand and we're concerned about a possible scaphoid fracture. And the main indication of a fracture would be exquisite tenderness on palpation of that area. So that's the first thing you'll want to do. Next, if we go from the anatomical snuff box area proximally, and we can consider perhaps 4 finger widths proximally, this is where we will find the tendons of abductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis, which are the tendons which will be irritated in the situation of de Quervain's syndrome. So we might well palpate these areas to see if it's painful. There's a possibility in distinct irritable forms of de Quervain's that it's swollen, but pain is probably the most common finding that you will feel. And finally, if we're concerned about a possible fracture to the radius, then we might well palpate around the distal radius and around the radial styloid to see if that is exquisitely tender. As we said, that might indicate a fracture. And finally, coming on to the ulnar aspect of the forearm, again, we might well palpate around this area if we're concerned about a possible fracture, and exquisite tenderness and perhaps some swelling is what we're feeling for principally there. So to summarise this video on palpation of the wrist and the hand, you may well focus on palpating areas of your patient's wrist and hand where they have reported symptoms during their subjective assessment. So if your patient complains of pain at the ulnar styloid, make sure this is a place you palpate. Consider palpation of the wrist and the hand in an anterior, posterior, radial and ulnar view, making sure you compare the affected and unaffected sides. You may well be palpating for symptoms including pain, swelling or deformity. You can consider key traits and common pathologies in each view, as we have highlighted during this video. And that completes our video on palpation of the wrist and the hand. Next, I'd like to suggest you have a look at our other videos within the Clinical Physio catalogue for the wrist, including observation of the wrist and the hand. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll see you again soon, right here on Clinical Physio.